One Zambia, one nation. Good evening and welcome to the main news. To present the news, my name is Nawali of Lahakis and my sign language interpreter is Pastor Johannes. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Edgar Longo has held his last campaign rally to drum up support for the Patriotic Front candidate in tomorrow's Sesheke parliamentary by-election. A team of engineers from the Zambia Army is in Longo to assess the damaged portion of the Bule Road, which was washed away at the Longo Bridge. In other news, Mopani copper mines has flown in fire experts from abroad to investigate the fire which led to the death of 3 miners at Lindola North Shaft in Kitwe. And in sports news, the Handball Association of Zambia says all players will be given an opportunity to challenge for a spot in the final national team selected to participate in the Handball Championship. We now have the news in detail. President Edgar Lungu has held his last campaign rally to drum up support for the Patriotic Front candidate in tomorrow's Sesheke parliamentary by-election. Addressing hundreds of people that attended a meeting at Sesheke Primary School Sports Ground, President Lungu said voters in Sesheke have a chance to usher in an MP that will work with government if they vote for Dean Masula. President Lungu said several developmental projects earmarked for Sesheke have failed because of the lack of cooperation from the opposition. He has advised Mr. Masula to put people's interests first if elected as MP. President Lungu has warned that he will not spare Mr. Masula if he abandons the people of Sesheke. He said the PF is a party that cares for the people, the poor people, and needs leaders that are ready to work with the people who voted them into office. And President Lungu has warned that people intending to break the law to disturb the voting exercise will be dealt with within the confines of the law.
I want to tell you that the opposition has been leading people into believing that their job is to oppose everything, including development. And because of these areas where they have MPs and councillors, we are finding it difficult to take development there because they are opposing us. So we have to change this scenario, giving the people of Sesheke a fresh start by voting for the ruling party. So please give us a chance to work for the people of Sesheke by giving us a member of parliament from here.
Meanwhile, PF Secretary General Davis Mwila said government says voting for the PF candidate will guarantee them accelerated development in Sesheke. Mr. Mwila said major projects such as the construction of the Sesheke-Livingstone Road and the completion of the Sesheke Trade School will only be possible if the area has an MP that will work with the government. Western Province Minister Richard Kapita, who was once UPND Vice President, said voting for the opposition will retard development in Sesheke District. And PF candidate Dean Masula has pledged to work hard and develop Sesheke to the expectations of the residents. Over 1,000 people defected from the opposition political party to join the PF. And the opposition UPND says it is confident that it will win the Sesheke parliamentary by-election in which it's fielded Romeo Kangombe. National Chairperson Mutelena Lumango says the party has done its homework and has told Sesheke residents its plans to develop the area. Ms. Nalumango also called on Sesheke residents to turn up in numbers and vote for the UPND candidate. She was speaking in an interview with ZNBC News in Lusaka. And United Prosperous and Peaceful Zambia, UPPZ spokesperson Francis Kope said that the party is ready for the election and is focused on winning the seat. Mr. Kope said the party is now concentrating on selling its candidate Victor Kalimokwa. Meanwhile, People's Alliance for Change PAC leader Andy Ford Banda has accused the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, of being toothless in dealing with those perpetuating violence in Sesheke. Mr. Banda, however, appealed to Sesheke residents to vote for Charity Mohau, the only woman participating in the by-election. The Sesheke seat fell vacant following the death of Frank Kufakwandi last year, who was United Party for National Development, UPND Sesheke Member of Parliament. And Vision Ambassador's National Chairperson Mishek Kombe has condemned the violence that occurred in Sesheke ahead of tomorrow's elections. Speaking to ZNBC News, Mr. Kombe said the behavior by some political parties that are spearheading the violent acts is uncalled for and inhuman. He says those that are encouraging their cadres to engage in violence are cold-hearted and do not deserve a seat in Parliament.
Some of our leaders can go to an extent of perpetrating such violence just in order to get into office. This should not be a matter of life and death. Leadership is not a position. Leadership is not about being in parliament. Leadership is a condition of the heart. Leadership is about what you can offer to the people that surrounds you. Things that people can appreciate. That's what leadership is all about. We do not expect our leaders to go to an extent of shedding blood, affecting innocent children, affecting women, just in order for them to get to parliament. It's uncalled for and we condemn it.
President Edgar Longo has called on Zambians to change their mindset towards prevailing high levels of violence. President Longo says Zambia has enough electoral laws that can help address issues of violence. Speaking on arrival from Livingston at the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, President Longo also appealed to stakeholders to come on board and help address the issues of violence before the 2021 general elections. President Longo said the recent violence in Sesheke needs to be addressed and not left to worsen. The president said a clique behind the violence is none and there is need to devise ways to change their mindset. The president, who arrived at 1825 hours, was received by Deputy Secretary General Mombipiri, service chiefs and senior government officials. President Edgar Lungu says Zambia has embraced the digital revolution and is promoting a smart Zambia system in various sectors. The president says government recognizes that information and communications technology, ICTs, will contribute to the country's economic growth and job creation. President Lungu said this through Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Christopher Yaluma, who represented him at the Smart Africa Board meeting in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. He said ICTs will bring about a knowledge-driven economy and help increase Africa's competitiveness in the global economy.
We've adhered to what is in manifesto, and we've based our own, initiative. We've put it on the right of the Smart Zambia, which is supporting Agenda 2064. So Smart Zambia, we are using that platform to ensure that we are linked to Smart Africa. Smart Africa will support all sectors of business, whether it's trade, digital trade, whether it's education facilities, health, you name it, and this will subscribe to the growth of our economy. Now, in Zambia right now as it is, we've embarked on trying to implement policies and also look at the regulatory framework which will support the Smart Africa initiative.
A team of engineers from the Zambia Army is in Mpulungu to assess the damaged portion of the Mpulungu-Mbala Road, which was washed away at the Lunzua Bridge. Officials from the Road Development Agency, RDA, are also on the ground. Katwishi Walia gives us the details in this report.
Built in 1965, the Lunzua Bridge on the Mpulungu-Mbala Road has given up after a heavy downpour. Mpulungu has now been cut off from the rest of the country. This has affected trade. The referral of cases to Mbala General Hospital have also been affected.
In the morning we had to transport to exchange, remove the sick people from one vehicle to the other just to facilitate taking them to
to the hospital.
And President Edgar Longo has dispatched a team of permanent secretaries to check on the damaged road. They include Infrastructure Permanent Secretary Charles Mushota, Defense Permanent Secretary Stadi Mwale, DMMU National Coordinator Chanda Kabwe, and Northern Province Permanent Secretary Elias Kamanga. The automatic opening of the spillway gates at Lunzua Power Station is suspected to have contributed to this. Zambia Army engineers are now on site, and in the meantime, China Geo will be engaged to make this road passable.
We have a total of about 4 bridges, of which 3 of them have been affected by this flood. Fortunately for us, we have a contractor who is on the western side, that is in the Longo side. So we are going to engage immediately the contractor so that we can start backfilling as well.
In the next couple of days or weeks, we should have the position getting back to normal.
A belly bridge is expected to be put up here by the Zambia Army.
This is not about when, but it's about now. All plans are actually in place, so it's just a matter of the distance, how long they will take from Longo to this place.
My job now is to look for resources and ensure that I support the technical team, the team of engineers who are on the ground.
Katwishiwadia reporting from Mpulungu in Northern Province.
Various stakeholders have commended President Edgar Lungu for signing the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Protocol. The African Continental Free Trade Area Protocol seeks to create a single continental market for goods and services with free movement of business persons and investments. Ruth Chayenda has more in this report.
Zambia is now one of the 52 states to sign the African Continental Free Trade Area Protocol. President Edgar Lungu signed the protocol during the 32nd Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union, AU. The protocol aims at creating a single continental market for goods and services. The Center for Trade Policy and Development has welcomed the move.
There are also opportunities for private sector players to take advantage of this bigger market. So a number of the private sector players that we have in the agriculture sector, within the mining sector, as well as other sectors that are focusing on value addition, like companies that are set up in the multi-facility economic zones.
Private Sector Development Association says government should seize the opportunity by investing in appropriate infrastructure.
It's important that government, the private sector begin to hold hands and support each other in accessing this much wider market. We have institutions which are statutory, like the Bureau of Standards, like the Zambia Weights and Measures Agencies, the Mandatory Standards Authority. These need to work with the private sector and begin to assist the private sector to look at what it takes in order to trade with the wider continent of Africa.
And Zambia Institute for Policy Analysis and Research feels the protocol will enable Zambian goods and services to penetrate African markets.
Moves such as what Zambia has done through His Excellency the President is important to show solidarity, to show that we are still on track in terms of our champion role in being a founding member on many of these Pan-African movement arrangements, and the Continental Free Trade Area is one of them.
The African Continental Free Trade Area is seeking to boost intra-African trade by 52.3% through eliminating import duties and minimize non-tariff barriers in the future. Ruth Chayenda, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
And now in the studio, we are joined by the Consumer Unit Trust CATS National Coordinator, Chenai Mokumba, who's just going to give us the reaction from her organization. Welcome to the main news desk.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the first question is, how important is the signing of this agreement?
It's particularly important, I think, as we've heard from the different stakeholders. The signing of this agreement speaks to the fact that us as a country are in complete alignment with the objectives to see the extent to which we can increase trade within the continent. The more we can trade amongst ourselves, the more likely we are to have that trade contribute to, for example, industrialization. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so what must be considered as the country ratifies the agreement?
I think what we need to start doing as we move towards ratification is having consultations with all of the key stakeholders in order to understand what specific, for example, products we need to be including within our sensitive and exclusion lists. So essentially just making sure that all of the key actors within the economy have a say in terms of the actual final agreement.
How best can the manufacturing sector leverage on this agreement?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the great things about this agreement is that it's going to see trade increase within the continent between 30 to 50%. And so what our domestic manufacturing sector needs to see is how we can leverage the opportunities that opens up. Different analyses, for example, have already indicated that as a country, we are going to start to export much more than we are importing. So it's for our domestic sector to essentially see, for example, where the opportunities opening up and then positioning ourselves in order to take advantage of that.
Do we say then that we're in for economic growth?
Absolutely, we are in for economic growth. There's a lot of opportunities, but I think it's important to note that also as we liberalize as an economy, there's always sort of potential benefits and also potential losses. So we need to also be putting in place measures to mitigate some of the negative consequences that could come as a result.
Ms. Mokumba, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for coming.
Sure.
Right, that was the CUTS, that is the Consumer Unit Trust National Coordinator Chinai Mokumba, just giving us a reaction regarding President Edgar Lungu's signing of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Protocol. Well, just now we go for a break. Join us after the break. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. An inquest is set to establish the cause of death for Let Unza student Vespas Shimunzila has started seating at the Lusaka Magistrate Court Complex. Magistrate Sylvia Munyinya is presiding over the matter, while the coroner's officer is Pumulo Like. Magistrate Munyinya started by listening to a testimony by one of the deceased relatives, Penista Shimunzila. The gist of his testimony was to ascertain that the one who died is really Vespas and not anybody else. In his testimony, Mr. Shimunzila said he had known the deceased since she was born and that he was there when the post-mortem was being conducted. University of Zambia Chief of Security Walia Kalebaila was the second witness to testify in the matter. In his testimony, Mr. Kalebaila said there was smoke and heat in one of the rooms that was gutted. He told Magistrate Munyinya that there was no pallet of tear gas canisters found in the room where the deceased was. Mr. Kalebaila says that 26 pallets of tear gas canisters were picked in other rooms or places and not the room where Vespas was. He further said there was no single shell of a bullet that was found in the university premises. After concluding his testimony, Magistrate Munyinya ordered for the adjournment of the matter so that the medical doctor who conducted the post-mortem can be brought before court. The matter has since been adjourned to March 1st, 2019. The Lusaka Magistrate Court has sentenced UPND Kanyama Ward 10 Councillor Brighton Bule Oomba to 1 year 6 months imprisonment for stealing more than 53,000 kwacha from the Lusaka City Council. The sentence was passed by Lusaka Magistrate Felix Kaoma after finding Mr. Bule Oomba guilty of the offence. Facts of the matter were that on December 22, 2015, 13 people were engaged by the Lusaka City Council to distribute land rent bills. Out of the 13 who did the job, only 12 were paid in December 2017 through e-wallet. The one who was not paid later went to the Lusaka City Council offices to demand for his pay. It was there that he discovered that there was a list containing 34 people who were paid via e-wallet instead of 13. The matter was investigated and Mr. Bule Oomba was arrested and taken to court in connection with the theft. Upon conviction, Mr. Bule Oomba pleaded with the court to exercise leniency because he has 5 children and is looking after his old mother. But in passing the judgment, Magistrate Kaoma said those who hold public office should be held accountable for their actions. He also said that the money in question would not have been paid to the rightful owners if one of the beneficiaries did not discover a list of names containing the people who did not do the work. Upon delivering the judgment, the convict was advised to appeal to the High Court if he was not happy with the judgment. Mopani Copper Mines has flown in fire experts from abroad to investigate the fire which led to the death of 3 miners at Mindola North Shaft in Kitwe. The fire experts will join local investigators from Mopani Copper Mines and the Mine Safety Department in investigating what led to the fire that burnt the 3 miners and injured a 4th one. We have more in this report.
Copperbelt Minister Jaffen Mwakalombe has visited the 3 funeral houses for the miners who died of suffocation at Mindola North Shaft in Kitwe on Thursday. In the company of Copperbelt Permanent Secretary Bright Nundwe, Patriotic Front Copperbelt Chairman Nathan Chanda and Kitwe District Commissioner Bino Mpundu, Mr. Mwakalombe passed President Edgar Lungu's condolences to them.
That's why our President Wanjibat is better
and the families appreciated government's role in helping them cope with the deaths.
But with your presence like this, the presence of government, and if you have colleagues, you are making the burden lighter.
And the investigation into the cause of the fire has started.
That fire experts have been flown in, and therefore we will get to the bottom of what happened, and a final report will be delivered and issued in conjunction with MSD.
The team will constitute expertise from Mopani, expertise from the Ministry of Mines, and also I'm told that they have also brought expertise from outside the country.
Meanwhile, the condition of 29-year-old Francis Mumba, who survived the inferno, is improving. Mr. Mumba, who suffered burns, is admitted at the Usakile Mine Hospital in Kitwe, where doctors say he's out of danger. Paul Sharara, ZNBC News in Kitwe.
We'll now go for another commercial break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The second meeting of the third session of the 12th National Assembly resumes tomorrow. The National Assembly had adjourned sine die on December 14, 2018. As the second meeting of the third session of the 12th National Assembly proceeds, several salient issues will be deliberated upon. We have details in this report.
The National Assembly is tomorrow expected to be lit with the usual enthusiastic deliberations by members of Parliament. This is on the backdrop of the second meeting of the third session of the 12th National Assembly that resumes tomorrow. President Edgar Longo is expected to address the House on 15th March 2019. This is in accordance with Article 86 of the Constitution. Justice Minister Given Luenda now expands on the bills expected to be taken to Parliament soon.
The Electoral Commission of Zambia Amendment Bill, the Zambia Law Development Commission Amendment Bill, the Employment Code Bill.
Veteran constitutional lawyer Mangala's always know the importance of electoral and constitutional reforms.
Quite a few contentious issues, like now the Public Order Act, you know, the mode of campaigns, the violence that's taking place during the elections. I think those will need to be addressed.
And political scientist Chris Simba explores governance issues that must be presented to Parliament soon.
For Parliament or the National Assembly to prioritize the national, our Constitution Amendment Bill.
During the proceedings of the second meeting of the third session of the 12th National Assembly, Speaker Patrick Matibini is expected to swear in the new Sesheke Member of Parliament. Hano Kasama, ZNBC News in Lusaka.
Veteran Zambian musician Brian Cholula has died. Mr. Cholula died in an accident which happened on Lusaka's Lumumba Road last night around 23 hours near Family 24. His daughter Diana Cholula has confirmed the death to ZNBC News in Lusaka. And police spokesperson Esther Katongo has confirmed the accident. Here's a report.
Take it down! Jumbo, jumbo, yo.
Brian Cholula, a name that will forever be written in the Zambian music files.
born in 1963, Brian died in a road accident last night. Known for some of his greatest hits like Nsanji Awisi Boy and Shumololwa, his death has shocked many. News about his death flooded the social media like bushfire. The Zambian music legend is gone. He rose to fame by holding hands with one of the greatest sons of Zambia, late Chris Charlie and his Amayenge Asoza band, before going solo in the late 1990s. His family is shocked about his untimely death.
He has left a blow to our family. Yeah, in the sense that, Brian, he has been a public figure and he has been very helpful to the family.
This lady is one of those that worked closely with Brian.
I've known Brian from 1992. That's how far we've gone. We became friends, buddies in the same industry, and when I got the news last night, I was in shock. Because just yesterday I was talking to him.
Once again, Zambia and Africa at large has been robbed of a music legend whose music contributed in shaping cultural values. Patricia Mapiki, TV2 News, in Lusaka.
Former Youth, Sport and Child Development Minister in the Cholula government, Reverend Peter Chintala, has died. Reverend Chintala, aged 72, died in the early hours of this morning after suffering a second stroke. His son, Andrew, confirmed the death in an interview with ZNBC News. Mr. Chintala, who is also Millers Association of Zambia president, said his father was admitted to Coptic Hospital for a week till his death. He said the funeral is being held in Gwerere. Mr. Chintala said funeral arrangements will be communicated to the public soon. Reverend Chintala also served as Deputy Minister, Religious Affairs at State House until 2001. He later served as Zambia's ambassador to Russia in 2004.
It's with a heavy heart that I wish to announce or inform the nation that the passing on of Ambassador Reverend Peter Chintala, who is my father. As you are aware that Reverend Chintala served as minister in Chilufya's government and ambassador to Russia in the Manawasa's government. It's very sad.
This is our last commercial break. Do stay with us.
It's now time for sports. My name is Robert Manza. In the segment this evening, Handball Association of Zambia says all players will be given an opportunity to challenge for a spot in the final national team selected to participate in the Handball Championship. More after this. And now the details. Handball Association of Zambia says all players will be given an opportunity to challenge for a spot in the final national team selected to participate in the national championship next month. The tournament is scheduled for March 1st, 2019. Here's a report.
They are among the prospects set to represent the country at the All Africa Games Handball Qualifiers Tournament, slated for Lusaka between the 18th and 23rd of March this year. Players from the men's and women's handball national team over the weekend held a training session at the Olympic Youth Development Center ahead of the qualifiers. And Handball Association of Zambia is happy with the turnout of the players.
We're expecting our players to are physically fit, because we're talking about what in qualifying for All African Games.
26 players will be selected for the qualifiers, and national team coach Nikolai Moister is confident those that will be chosen will not disappoint.
We're not individuals, so we're playing as a team, and we have to remember that this is Zambia, and if there's someone that is the strongest nation, this should be the one.
And women's national team captain Lindy Wengwenya and player Elizabeth Daka are confident Zambia will qualify for the All Africa Games.
The trainings are just going okay.
Well, that's sports for this evening. My name is Robert Mwanza. Good night.
Well, that's it for the news. Thank you so much for your time. Do look forward to more news at 22 hours. My name is Nawali of Lahakis. Good night.